faz-te melhor. Monta um software melhor que o OBS. Em JavaScript.
Silêncio, John. Vou começar.
Quantas pizzas já pedi?
Não, o ChatGPT já falou, tipo, mas o ChatGPT falou
Se cada um comer 12 pizzas.
vamos começar aqui. Mas eu queria pedir. Vai começando então, eu vou pedir. Eu vem cá de olho então.
Eu estou encarregado por 12 pizzas. O negócio é o seguinte, tu fala chamar lá. Tu tem que pedir.
Pega o chama. Eu ajudei.
Eu vou pedir 12. Eu não sei quantas pizzas pedir. É suposto assim das pizzas.
Quem bebeu, Johnny? Pelo amor de Deus, para de arrumar problema.
Guys, someone here is vegetarian. Okay.
Things that I ask. Good.
Join.
Duas? Eu tenho um. Sorry guys, again. Who doesn't need meat?
One, two. Yeah. I'm not planning to eat.
You're vegetarian too, right?
Yes, but I'm not planning.
Man.
No.
Who is planning to eat afterwards?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Who is planning to eat? Yeah. No one?
We're going to order some pizza. Who's going to eat? Oh, thanks God. I was going to order like 30 pizzas.
O que sobrar eu levo pra cá.
So, vou pegar umas.
Sim.
Ô Johnny, você é o cara. Vamos começar.
Vamos ir no
Diga aí, eu falo.
Vazou tudo na stream. Tamo aí.
Quem que eu chamo Fernando? Alguém vai falar da Rose?
Você vai falar da Rose, né? Não vai falar não. Eu. Você vai falar da Rose.
Não, ele
Quem
não
vai
vai.
falar da Rose?
Alguém vai falar alguma coisa da Rose? Ou... Não?
Tá bom. Ok.
Beleza.
Depois, antes de você começar, eu preciso que você logue no site para compartilhar seu ecrã para stream. É só isso.
Ah, então quem eu chamo primeiro? É o
Que
Gui?
vazou.
Ah, tá. Então espera um pouquinho.
Sorry guys, our first speaker needs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he's nervous. Well, what's fun that there's like raining, so you guys are crazy, right? Why you guys not in home, right?
Yeah,
But it's fine. I am the same way.
crazy but our heroes, right?
Yeah, our heroes. Thank you for coming. You see? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So guys, thank you for coming again. I was just joking. We was like a little bit like afraid about like the rain and stuff, but it's really cool that we have people that come together, even like the rain. So I think it's our like 8th meetup, something like that. Ninth. Okay, so thank you for Rose for having us. I think it's really important. And that's it. So I think we can start, right? Do you want to say something else?
Just thanks. We know that the weather is shitty today,
Yeah.
you know, and for the rest of the winter. So, yeah, Porto. But yeah, we are planning to getting back on tracks this year for the meetup. Last year we passed through some busy times and we made just 2 meetups. But this year, I promise, we're planning to get back on our normal schedule, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
So Guilherme, you have a second time here, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Second time.
Let's have a applause for our first speaker, Guilherme. Com licença. Bota isso atrás da sua. Ah, não, mano. Coloca assim. Atrás, não, atrás. Isso. Segura.
Ah, pô, isso é chique. Né?
Pronto.
Eu... Ô Luiz, tem como eu splitar minha tela? Me ajuda aqui, me ajuda aqui. É porque eu queria ver um jeito de eu ficar com essa tela aqui e só colocar... Não, essa daqui não, essa daqui. Como é que tu faria? Mas se for complicado, nem estressa.
Não, põe aqui.
Só porque eu coloquei umas notas ali no... pra guiar.
Tá ligado? TV isso. Ó. Pronto. Aí você...
Extend, né?
Extend.
Bom,
Nem pedir licença pra mexer no seu PC.
tá de boa.
Aqui você...
Hoje a gente não vai fazer gravação, não.
Vai, pô. Só pra... Aqui você... Essa que você... Que é essa aqui que faz mais sentido. Pronto.
Uhum.
Aí você move aqui, né?
Sim, sim,
Aí
sim.
você sabe, né?
Sim. Okay, can you hear me well? Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming, especially as Luis has already said. It's a really... I'm on the front of the TV, right? It's a really shitty day, so I wasn't expecting that amount of people. Thanks for coming. So the idea of the talk is to basically show how you can vibe code stuff without just like going crazy and drifting away, you know? I would say like the term itself got a little bit, how can I say? It seems that you are playing with something when you say you're vibe coding, you're not actually doing engineering, but you actually can do. That's what I want to show here. Some ways that I found that we can actually engineer and not just vibe code, but use the term that you like, that you prefer. Doesn't matter. I am Gui, Guilherme, short for Guilherme. I'm a front-end engineer. I'm originally from Brazil. I have been living here for 7 years now, and I'm a Strava user. I like to put it that way because I heard one Brazilian guy that was mad with the runners, and they were saying, and he was saying something like, "Oh, those Strava users, they're always doing this and that." So I was like, "Oh, that's funny." But yeah, here you have my website, personal website. It's a proxy for all the social media. So if you go admit.dev and / anything, you're going to be redirected. So what's the main issue here is that AI is naturally unpredictable. We know that LLMs, they are not deterministic. So if you prompt for the same thing twice, you probably are not going to get the same answer. Especially like each of us has a different context probably from the memory, from the prompts you have already done, etc. For the ones that are already using AI coding agents such as Cloud Code, OpenCode, etc., you probably have your own like agents.md or cloud.md file. So it's impossible basically to generate the same output, even though you're trying with the same system, with the same environment. So the solution for this is to basically create constraints as much as possible. And when you do that, you make it possible to have like some sort of predictability. It's not like 100%. You're not going to be able to predict 100% the output you're going to get, but you can get pretty close to it. And there are a lot of ways to achieve that. I'm just going to talk about those three, the ones I have tested and I saw the potential. The first one I call design contracts, but it's basically like using the Figma MCP server to get all the metadata about the designs and feed that into your AI coding agent. By the way, I should have asked before, how many of you are already like used to terms such as MCP, skills, AI coding agents? Who already uses? Okay, that's good. It's not that many, so it's gonna be curious, I guess. If there are really weird or strange terms, please raise your hand. I don't want to put those questions to the end of the presentation because otherwise you're gonna probably be confused about. So talking about MCP, I'll try to define it shortly. It's basically, you can call a contract as well between an already existing API and your LLMs. So imagine you have a CRUD application and you have the 4 normal operations, right? Create, read, update, etc. You can create an MCP server that each of those actions will have a description for them. So whenever you prompt for, like you say, like, I want to generate a new user, the MCP will know that you want to create a new user, and it's going to make the right call for your API. It's something like that. It's just another middleman, let's say. So yeah, there is design contracts, feedback loops, which I'm gonna display how I do it using the agent browser. Agent browser is a CLI that works as a browser automation tool and can also be a validator for us. It's similar to Playwright, but the way it interacts with the model, it's really it's better. It's less context consuming, so it's more efficient. And you also have structured output. There is this really recent library called JSON Render that basically creates a lot of guardrails so you can predictability, oh, it's hard to say, sorry, render your UI from already existing content or already existing components that you have in your code base. So yeah, we're gonna dive into that later on. So first, let's talk about the design contract, from design to code, from a design system to actual UI components. The traditional handoff from the designer to the engineering team is something like this. The designer creates mockups. The developers, the engineers interpret the mockups, whatever is in the Figma file. And sometimes it happens that the implementation drifts because there is a gap between the engineering team and the design team, which is totally like, how can I say, acceptable, because most of the times, unfortunately, engineers and designers are like in separated teams. I would like to have a design in all the teams I have worked in so far, but that's not the reality for most people. So that's why those drifts happen usually. But with the Figma MCP, the designer can design in Figma. Maybe the designer themselves can extract with MCP, the MCP server from Figma, and then it can, instead of like just delivering mockups and a Figma file, the designer can actually deliver code. As people from tech love those short terms, I coined this one, design as code. And the workflow would look something like that. You have your Figma design system, for instance. Could be anything else. Could be like a Figma file that describes a page or an entire app, but I'm going to use the design system as an example here. And you get those two tools that are available within the Figma MCP, the get design context and the get variable depths. So you get the get design context gets all the CSS and stuff from the Figma file. and the get variable defs gets like all the design tokens that are defined there. And the result of like grouping those two together, we get, in my case, in the demo that I'm going to show, React plus Tailwind CSS, and you get like a component. And from this component, you can build like a storybook. And that's basically the end goal for this presentation, at least. So those are the tools that I mentioned, the Figma MCP tools, and the outputs are going to be like a story for a storybook and design tokens. When I tried to extract the design tokens from Figma, it only gave me a TypeScript file with tokens like this. I didn't want that. I wanted to have like already a Tailwind CSS configuration, so it would be easier for me. But unfortunately, I only had 6 calls for Figma through the MCP, 6 calls per month, and like I couldn't make it better. You can have like a better rate limits if you are a subscriber, if you basically like pay for the subscription. Then you still have a rate limit, but it's way better than the free one. So like what I'm trying to say is maybe it's possible to already extract from Figma to a Tailwind CSS configuration that nowadays in Tailwind v4 it is a CSS file, but I couldn't in my experimentation. Then that's what I have done. I got this design system from the Figma community files, so it's open source, let's say, from Figma, and I created this storybook from it. I would like to do it here to show the prompt that I use and actually show you guys how you can extract. But unfortunately, as I said, I have already reached the limits. So this won't be an actual live demo as I wanted. But I can show you just, actually from the screenshots, I can already show you like what I was able to do and what you can easily do with the MTP server. I took this button component. I shared the link for this component specifically with the MCP server through Cloud Code, which I was using as my coding agent. And from there, it already created not only the components, but the storybook. I actually have done some work on the buttons. They weren't like one-to-one in my first try, but I think that like if I had a better rate limits, I would try twice or another time, and it would probably like be way closer. But what I had to change was just like small stuff, such as like the disabled button wasn't working as it is. It was changing the hover effect depending on the variant or the size. But just using a library such as CVA, it was easy to achieve what it's here in the spec file from Figma. It's like it still took me way less time than to take to manually add the button, you know, manually add all the variants of the button and check all the spacings, all the color codes, etc. So visual feedback loops. It's also another constraint or guardrail that you can use to be more predictable with your outputs. And why feedback matters. The LLMs, they know what is a DOM tree. They know like the structure of the CSS file. They can guess a few things, but they can't actually verify the actual rendered output. They can't see unless you use something such as Playwright or the tool that I've talked about, which is Agent Browser. So it is really important for any UI work to use one of those tools. Otherwise, you are going to have to like be part of the loop and check yourself. But it's way more efficient when you let the agent do it as well. So you don't need to be on the loop. You can let the agent work for like a longer period without any interference from you. So that's why I think it's really important to use. When you're doing back-end work, anything related to the CLI, it's usually like way easier for the agents to check if what they have done is working as you expect. But when you're doing like anything in the browser, it's not that easy. And here is just how the feedback loop pattern is structured, right? You generate something, then you validate this, and you see if there are any issues or not. If there are, you ask the agent to fix. If not, it's done. And iterate until you get the result you want. And this is the tool, Agent Browser. It's called as a headless browser automation CLI. So it can also be used outside your AI coding agent. You can use just the CLI, however you want. But there is also a skill that you can install in any AI coding agent that you may use. And through this skill, you can tell your AI coding agent to do stuff such as like open a page in a certain URL, take a snapshot of it. If you want, you can also take a screenshot. The agent can also do like, the agent browser can also do like actions such as click, take a screenshot, as I said, close, etc. So it is a browser automation tool in the end, but you can also use for validation, and that's how I try to use in my workflow. And here let's see how. Oops, I think it's here. Where's my cursor? It's here. Let's see how you can use it in action. So I have this simple form. What? Oh yeah, really. Oh no, I'm gonna show this. Yeah, I didn't thought about this, but I can move here, I guess. Yeah. We have this like simple form, and I don't know how I'm gonna type in the terminal, and you're gonna see. You need to believe me. So let's just open the terminal.
Can you do like split screen?
Yeah, let's try. But it's hard to. But yeah, we can do it definitely. I put it here. It's really slow when I move to the side. I don't know why. Yeah, I should have planned this part better, to be honest. Why it's not moving? What? Let me.
Hit the green guy first. It's maximized.
Oh yeah, true. It's hard because the opposite way. Oh, it was maximized before.
Actually, so
Yeah.
hit escape.
Let me do this.
There you go.
Let's see. Oh, okay, now it goes. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to go around. Okay, so if we go here, let me clear this. Let me exit. Okay, so let's open a new chat with Cloud Code. I usually just do YOLO because I skip the permissions. Okay, I can use this model. I think it's fine because the work is not anything that needs a better model. So what we can say here, it's like, please, because we need to be respectful. Please verify if the login form at, let's say, the port number, port 3001, is submitting as expected, let's say something like that, just to show you what's the output you're gonna get from the agent browser. Oh, one thing is important. I didn't specify to use the agent browser, and it tries to use the playwright MCP. That was good to show you. I do not recommend the playwright MCP. It works, but it eats a lot of your context because it outputs like big screenshots and stuff. And the agent browser, on the other hand, it usually outputs just like natural language. It just text, you know? So no use agent browser. It's funny because I have in my rules, I have a browser automation section in my rules, and I tell specifically to use the agent browser, but it still tries to use playwright MCP. I don't know why. Oh, it's not finding it. Okay. Oh, it's saying that's empty, but it's the right port, right? I don't know why it's not finding it, but let's see. Yeah, that's the risk of doing live demos, but it usually works. Yeah, it worked before. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Something, I don't know, maybe I changed something here while moving windows around. But yeah, I won't be able to show you like how the output looks. But it can even like check stuff such as if you ask the agent browser to take a look at the width of the input field, if the email is equal to the width of the password, if anything in the UI is working or not, it usually works. I'm just gonna cancel this because I will not have time, I guess. But I can try later, and I can show you after the talk if you are still interested. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, sorry for that. I tried. It's usually like really simple. I don't know. Let me go here. And then we have JSON render. That's what I'm most excited about. As I said before, it's a really new library. So it has a lot of rough edges. If you go to the GitHub repository and check the documentation, you're gonna probably not be able to run it locally at your first try because the example code doesn't really work without some small changes. But I made some PRs to this and have seen the author being active. So eventually, this is probably going to be fixed, and you're going to be able to run locally without having to look at the source code, etc. What's the idea of JSON render? It's basically start from a prompt to any model that you might want to use. Usually, you don't need to use the best models. A simple model such as, I don't know, Haiku is the one I use, or maybe like a GPT. Is there the GPT 5.0 mini or just the 4.0 mini? But one of those like mini models or Flash from Gemini would work, because the work that you need from the AI coding agent here is not complex. It's basically like to get create JSON-L patches for the component structure that you're trying to render as a tree. And to make this work in JSON render, you have to create a catalog that's basically a Zod schema of the components you want to use to generate the UI. So here is a really simple example, just a card, a button, the text, but you can go crazy here and do like a lot of components with a lot of props. It is just like for proof of concept. And this is the system prompt. It's where it actually says to the AI coding agent what it has to do. That's the part that is, in my opinion, broken at the moment in the library, because even though the library has a has a function that's like create schema from catalog or create system prompt, something like that, that you can generate from this catalog. This is not working, at least like it's not complete. It shows part of this, it shows the available components, and I think it also shows component details, but it doesn't generate important stuff such as like the output format, the operations, and also the, it's showing here. Oh no, I think let me go here. I think I need to scroll here, or I can't. It's scrollable here in my view. I don't know why it's not scrollable here. Sorry, but anyway, in this element structure, you have a JSON that this JSON, it models the tree that you're gonna render. And the JSON is formed by like adding all those JSON-L lines. And I'm not sure about this, but I think in this tool, it uses JSON-L instead of like a normal JSON here for the operations, because JSON-L you can add like line by line, and it's also context efficient because it's less like characters. So I think that's the reason. But in the end, it's gonna form a big, depending on how complex is the UI, it's gonna form a big JSON with all the components, all the tree that you want to render. So the idea is to go from like the catalog through the system prompts to generate those JSON-L patches that are going to be streamed into your application to render the UI. Here is an example from the playground page that they added to the official website of the library. They added it like today or yesterday. So I actually built a playground myself, but way simpler. But if you go to their website and go into the playground, if you just prompt like build a pricing page, you're gonna see this. Of course, all of those components, the card, the buttons, the FAQ cards, let's say, I don't know how to describe, maybe cards, I don't know. All those, they are available in the code base. That's why you can like ask for them. But what's incredible for me here is that you don't need to be like really specific. You can just say like build a pricing page, and the LLM will already like know which kind of components are going to be needed. You know, you don't need to be always explicit like, oh, I want a card with a button, blah blah. You don't need that because like you don't need that because that's where the library shines. Like all those. Let me go back to the system prompts. Everything is connected through the system prompt and through the catalog. So when you say like build me a pricing page, the LLM is going to look, okay, let me see like which components I have to build it, and then it's going to select what makes sense or not for your UI. And I hope this is going to work. The other one didn't work. I created this one. Let's see if it's going to work or not. Okay. I created this copycat of their page, but with way less possibilities, because I just had 3 components: a card, a button, and a text component. But for instance, if I go here, if I go here and say create a FE-OPO number 9 card, it's going to generate. And if you pay attention, it generates part by part. That's because the JSON-L patches are being streamed, so it's line by line. That's really, really, really nice. But you can also like go crazy here and ask for something else. I have a prompt saved here. Maybe it's easier for me to get from here. I have a prompt that's like create an welcome card for the Frontend.OPO number 9 event with a button that navigates to the website. And then if you do that, if you give them more context, you eventually get something better, of course. So yeah, the copy, it's like whatever because I don't have any control over the copy. There are no constraints around that, but everything else, it's according to what you would expect, right? The buttons, they do work. It's not gonna look like it works, but it's just because I don't have anything on the action for this button, but you can do like any action. There is a callback from the library that lets you do anything you want on the onClick event. In this case, it's just it's just outputting the console, just logging the label. But now you actually have something better. You actually have something better because, as I said, they created a new page. And in this new page, you can even see this one. Yeah, it's this one. In this page, you can even see the JSON being streamed. So if I say like design a user profile card, hit the button, you see the JSON being created like step by step, and those are like all the patches that are being sent to the application. So the application knows like what it has to handle or not. It's still early, but it's a lot of potential on that. So you can basically like not only you as an engineer, but also like the designers can prototype using your own like design library, you know? Because when you want to prototype something, you usually go to sites like Lovable, Replit, V0, and it's cool. You can also build prototypes there, but you can't build with your own components, you know? You have all the constraints on your design system already, so you might as well just use it. And I don't know if it's possible here in this playground, but one thing that's possible with this library as well, but I haven't done it in my demo, is you can take the generated code. So it's not only useful to see how it would look, but you can actually extract. You just like can just do it from hitting a button, and you get everything. Of course, as this is from Vercel, it generates a structure for Next.js. But you can get that structure and adapt to your own like framework or router, and it's still gonna work, right? There will be just some details that you're gonna have to adjust. We can close this one as well. Okay, that's one we could do. Nice. So I just want to give you some takeaways from what we have talked about. The first one is that when you have more constraints, you have more predictable outputs. So that's really important. Guardrails are your friends when you're working with LLMs. And they're expecting something that makes sense within your project. Choosing the right tool is really important. I displayed like 3 tools, but those might not fit your workflow. So you need to check like what you need. There are no like silver bullets in this. Also, everyone is experimenting. So also do it as well, you know, experiment. And context budget matters. That's really important, especially if you don't have like I was talking with Luis before the presentation, and especially if you have the cheaper plan for Anthropic, for Cloud Code, which is Cloud Pro. If you have this one, you gotta find ways to save tokens, because you can easily use everything in a few minutes if you're using Opus, for instance, which is like the best model there. And it's basically that. There's just one more thing. It's not the one more thing from Steve Jobs. I'm not doing any revelation here. But I'm just want to say that I'm actively looking for my next role. So if you have anything interesting to share, please do it. This is my email. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. I hope this was clear. I know that I have jumped some definitions, but I wouldn't be able to fit everything into 30 minutes. But I hope that you get at least a rough idea of what's possible doing using those tools and adding them to your workflow. Questions? Anyone? Should.
So it looks good for making, let's say, components or storybooks from scratch, but I'd like to know if you have any experience while like taking real code and translating it to, let's say, a more concise design system, because currently I have a project which was made by a backend, so the
Okay.
frontend is terrible.
Okay.
And like it's a vanilla JS with injections like in line styles and it's a mess. And each page or each module has its own style.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least so to convert all of them to a Figma or a storybook to say, hey, use the same patterns, use the same colors, use the same, I don't know, text sizes, this kind of stuff. So if you have
Yeah,
experience with that.
I tried, but just once. I didn't go like further into this, but there is a Figma plugin that's called HTML to design, and they kind of monopolized this market because I couldn't find anything else, just this one. I don't know how well it works, to be honest, because I think the free tier is really limited. To actually do what I wanted to do, I would have to pay, and I didn't want to. But that's the only one I saw. So it's a matter of like trying to find other two or actually trying this one, because it's definitely possible to take some HTML and transform into a Figma. But I don't know how to do it yet. Like it's not using this tool, you know.
Yeah.
But like I imagine that let's imagine that you figured this out, we were able to convert in a page, HTML page, whatever, into a Figma mockup. Then you can easily like get all the data from Figma using the Figma MCP and feed into your agent, and then create the storybook, or not creating the storybook. You don't need to create the storybook, you know.
Convert the pages and etc.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you figure this first part, I think it's easy, you know.
Okay. How's it called? HTML?
HTML to design. I think it has, I don't know why, but it has points. Like it's HTML point to point design, something like that. I can maybe share with you the link. I'll try to find it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Guilherme. My question is like you said about the JSON handler one. Did you have any like library that you have solved for doing like for mobile too? Because for example, there's like in my work today we use a lot of server-driven UI, and I think that's like the perfect place to fit something like that. Have you seen like these using in
Not yet. But like, I think, I mean, smarter people would be able to do it. It's like, take this and port it to React Native. I don't know what you're using for mobile development, but if you're using React Native, I think it's like easy if you know what you're doing to convert this, because in the end, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show here. Yeah, never mind. There is a renderer component that takes your catalog, the catalog I displayed before, and also takes, there's another thing it takes, but it's a orchestrator, let's say. It gets all the data that you got from the you pass the output from your string. You pass the JSON-L patches to this renderer, and you also pass the catalog. And then inside this renderer, it like decides what should be rendered and what not. So I would assume that this renderer can easily be ported into a React Native render, because there are a lot of similarities. It would probably just be a matter of like changing some components, because in React Native you can't use the normal DOM element, right?
Yeah, but I was talking more about real native, like.
Real native, yeah, no. Then like I haven't seen anything, but if it yeah, if it doesn't exist, I think eventually someone will create it, or you can just do a loop in your cloud code and try to do it yourself.
Yeah, can be.
Any more questions?
So thank you, Guilherme.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Come on.
It's a recorder. Right, can I start?
Yeah.
I can? All right. Awesome. Hello. How is everyone? Is everyone good? Everyone still alive? Good. Hi, I'm Herman. LinkedIn says I have a lot of experience, but in software engineering, more specifically front end. But if you ask me, it feels like I started yesterday. But with that said, I am one of many front-end developers who built this product called Rose. What is Rose? I'll explain in a few seconds. If you have any questions, I'd like you to direct it to this guy over here, or that guy over there with the mustache. And yeah, let's get this started. I will try my best not to be boring and to keep everyone awake. And then I'll send out my number later on for you guys to text me. Anyway, so Rose is a product. The best way to show you is through a demo. We are, number one, data analytics tool or a spreadsheet, however you want to phrase this. Think of Google or Excel spreadsheets, but on steroids. That means that we communicate with APIs, whatever integration you can think of, from Salesforce to your Revolut bank account, we can show it on a spreadsheet. I'm so glad you're recording this because I'm gonna send this to my boss later on and like, I need a raise. I was so smooth. Anyway, this is basically an application that one would have on Rose. This is a dummy e-commerce site that I generated just using AI on the side dashboard here. My prompt being, create me an e-commerce dashboard from dummy orders, products, customer, table data, blah, blah, blah. You guys can see, awesome. And as any spreadsheet, you can see there are tables selections, and formulas. Pretty clear. We have all kinds of charts. Let's see. We have all kinds of charts, if the charts would show. There we go. And pivot tables, data tables, you name it. Again, Google Sheets, but on steroids. Back to the presentation. What this presentation is going to cover really is the evolution of how we got there. Believe it or not, 7 years ago, we were just another spreadsheet. I think we can go into this mode. We were just another spreadsheet. What does that mean? It meant we looked like Google Sheets, but with different colors. So our entire screen would be taken up by the actual spreadsheet, and you had columns, rows, your average formulas, integration we always had, and cool Easter egg, we were once formerly known as dash dash.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember its name.
Yeah, and before that equals magic. So a lot of name rebrands, a lot of changes in the process. Luckily, I'm still here. But with that said, we're still in the market, complete spreadsheet, entire thing. I want to just walk you through how this piece of code or this product specifically was built, just so you can see where we went, where we come from, where we are today, and where we want to go. So with that said, very basic tech stack. We're looking at React, Apollo client, GraphQL. For our state management, we use MobX, and we draw the grid using Canvas, but on top of the Canvas API, we use a library called React Conver. And then, of course, Material UI for our UI library, and color palettes, themes, and all kinds of styling. How we did things before is we were, once upon a time, a team of like 55 developers, and I think 55 was the max. I don't know if we ever reached 60. So, and how we worked was this distributed private NPM packaging system. That meant that our grid lived in one package, our UI library lived in another, and it all came together at the core app. And what you would do is every time you wanted to make a change, you'd go to the equivalent library, link it locally to your, it was torture, bro. It was nightmare. Worst workflow. I will not take that personally. It was. And how that worked was a bunch of different libraries all sitting in different places. If you wanted to make one change in the core app, it usually involved like 4 to 6 PRs. And then at the end, it would come together, and that would be the change. As you can imagine, that meant very, very slow development. And now zooming into one of the packages, one of the more important packages would be the grid, the entire spreadsheet. We called this maze. We had another package called a maze, like amazing. The latest is just grid, but spelled with 3 I's. For being the third version. I think it's because it's the third version, right? Yeah.
Actually, maybe
fourth version. Yeah. I love the maze grid system. I think you can put 1 and 2 together why we called it maze. But it had a couple of characteristics that, depending on who you ask, was either good or bad. For one, it was completely dumb presentation layer. That meant it held little to no logic. So it was rows, as you see in the diagram, columns, and cells, and it would come together in the actual grid, and you would assemble everything. Think of it like Legos. So rows, columns, and cells, and then you would bring these Lego pieces in the app and build them together yourself. What that meant is, for developers, it was up for interpretation. Your idea of a grid, my idea of a grid are 2 different things. So again, slow, buggy, laggy development. Let's see. But we did make a couple of good decisions early on. We researched Google Sheets, Excel, and all the other guys, and we knew immediately if we're going to build this thing on the web, HTML is slow and heavy. So from the get-go, we always drew this in the canvas. That means that instead of having 1,000 div or buttons as he beautifully displayed in the last presentation, you would kind of use this API that gives you this image to dumb it down that made the browser see it as just one node instead of 1,000. And what we did on top of that, because it's the browser sees this as an image, we put this thing called a waffle on top. I don't know if you guys have seen a waffle, but if you've had really good waffles, they're like small squares on top. That's why it's called the waffle. Fun fact. And it acts as this overlay on top of the grid that registers your normal HTML interactions. So by that I mean you're not actually clicking the grid, you're clicking the layer on top, and we just register it down. Boom. Okay, great. So the core stuff is there in terms of the way we distributed the packages, the grid, and how the grid is broken down. It's this Canvas API, so it's not HTML. But again, it all lives in the app. So it would look something like this in a dumbed down version. If you guys can see the code here, you would literally have this large file that would go, okay, I don't know how tech savvy everyone is, so bear with me. I wanna show rows, I wanna show columns, and I wanna show a cell. This, by the way, you will not find in our code base, so take a photo of it, but it's not how we do it. It's just a dumbed down version of it. It's way too clean. Exactly. Usually their comments are like, what the fuck? Why did you do this? What the fuck does this mean? It's way too clean. And what this meant is, this was what our app looked like. You would have to download this thing called Maze and then just pull in these components and put them all together. Again, Lego pieces. So not amazing, but it did the job. It really did. And pun intended. Exactly. And with every grid system, you're gonna have large tables. Even with the canvas and not drawing 1,000 HTML nodes on the browser at one time, you cannot just dump 1,000 cells on a user's browser. I mean, you can, you should not, is what I should say. So because our grid was so dumb, it meant that virtualization lived on an app level and not within the grid. What that also meant is it lived in a place further away from the grid, which forced us to virtualize virtually, if that makes sense. So we went on a row level virtualization. That just means that, okay, based on your screen size, we're expecting that you will take 100 of these cells right now, and that's what we would blob. It was not really tied to the grid. It was more, we were telling the grid how to look. And it solved virtualization. It was performant, but it was not amazing because I don't know if you've ever seen a grid. When you scroll by pixel and not by lines. So you can, I wish we had a demo for you with the old days, but so much has changed, there's no way for us to go back. Where if a user scrolled, they would see blocks of lines scrolling and not pixels. Yeah, dude, it was bad. It's bad. Anyway, moving forward, with virtualization came a scrolling dilemma. Scrolling is tied to virtualization. What I mean by that is what you show is based on where the user's scrolling. The user's position on the screen determines what you show. And because, again, back to the whole how we distributed our packages back in the day, it meant that our scrolling was a nightmare. Bruno and I worked on this when the CEO of the company thought, I no longer want a spreadsheet, I want tables. I want tables with spreadsheet capabilities, which meant multiple things on the screen at the same time, which also means that scroll needs to be both on the element and globally. So I can scroll both here and I can scroll both inside like that. And when I'm done scrolling inside, I want to scroll the rest of the table. As you can see, this is a headache. And what we coined this term, this is not unique, this is not new, but at our company we like giving things names because we believe in colonizing. Too soon, my bad. Struggling comedian. We call this the sliding window. What this effectively means, and this also ties into virtualization, and in our virtualization technique, is we figure out what your window is, what your absolute table is, and we attach what is perceived to be the grid to the window, where in the back this long table is scrolling, but what you're perceiving is just what's moving. So hence a sliding window. I'm so glad I have a demo up here because it's much easier to show you than it is to explain. This is, fun fact, one of the original POC ideas that we showed to the entire, I think, engineering managers and the big guys at Rose when we wanted to propose this, because at the time, again, we were just one large spreadsheet showing on the screen. So like, how are we going to show multiple tables with multiple cells? And he had a brilliant idea of just opening up a sandbox and doing some divs illustrating this. So the red screen being the window that I'm referring to, and the blue being the absolute. So as you can see with the first view, there's nothing to scroll there. With the second view, it gets stuck, it's still there, but there's content that you're scrolling through. This is a CSS property called sticky. So it's sticky to the red window, and you're scrolling basically in the blue. Boom. And that's obviously just the y-axis to show you your scrolling position. Now I need you to have imagination here and imagine cells being rendered in between there from bottom to top. And that is basically the sliding window that we came up with. And then post that, we had a dilemma of, okay, now we need to virtualize our grid. So we solved the scrolling issue, then we had to virtualize our grid. We used another concept. This one we didn't name. It's just called windowing, which is the same concept with the scroll, which is we're going to render whatever is available within the screen's dimensions, so width and height. We're going to virtualize by showing you a set number data set, rows, columns, or cells within a given window dimension, and we would show you that. And moving forward, we did the opposite. That's the presentation. We are today a monorepo, no longer distributed. That means everything is in one big fat repository. So if you want to change one thing, you change literally one thing, not 10 PRs. We stopped making, I would say, dumb components and started making plug and play components. That is, you could use it elsewhere. A testimony to that is we now have embedded rows tables in Notion, for example, where you're just showing the table and that's a grid or an implementation of the grid, where you're not carrying rows, columns, and asking this person to build their own little grid over there. And a bunch of UI and UX improvements, I guess. We immediately knew we couldn't just be Google Sheets. We had to be slightly different. At the time, it was risky and we thought it was madness, but it turned out to age really well. And our next steps, I would say, is better, believe it or not, scroll management. Our scrolling is still, in comparison to before, better, but still a bit of a nightmare, not intuitive to the user. And it's about 400 lines of code.
4,000. The scrolling, the whole component is about almost 5,000 lines.
5,000 lines of code. Yeah. And that's just because of the complexity of moving things around, drag, drop, being able to change where you want certain things to be, and all of that good stuff. We've done this, but I don't think any of us are happy with the implementation. I'm not happy because it's hard to change. No one wants to touch that file. So it means also longer periods of updating if the feature evolves. And lastly, on a personal level, improve mobile development on this. I don't think spreadsheets have been great on mobile. We don't know if they will, but I'm hoping that at least ours can be a lot better presented on mobile devices. Anything else I'm missing? No? Yep. And that was it. That was a short one. Thank you. Stop there.
So any questions, guys?
I get it right. You have scrolls both in window
Yeah.
and virtualization. So
Virtualization, yeah.
So both there and there.
Yes.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah.
And drag and drop is completely your custom design.
Yeah.
Oh, nightmare too. Okay, and if I may, guys, what stack you are looking for native application? It's also like back or React Native or like native.
Sorry, what was the question? What application?
You are looking for mobile.
Oh, yes.
In what stack?
We weren't like really talking about the native application, at least for now.
Yeah.
Not really sure. Like you can use our app in mobile already.
Oh, so
So it has like a mobile friendly version, still web
also
app.
with virtualization for sure.
And
Drag
you have everything you need is there. But and the experience is slightly different. I don't think we have drag and drop on mobile, for example.
No.
We do have, for example, an iPad or something. So if you have the real
big
estate,
screen,
you can just use everything. But like in a small screen, you don't have drag and drop. It's just like a vertical thing. But there's still some improvements. It's not really easy to, I guess, to interact with the spreadsheet in mobile, like the touch and keyboard and all stuff. All that isn't like the greatest experience. So I think there's room for improvement there.
Yeah, I think if we do go native, it's probably going to be desktop application native and not mobile.
Thank you, guys. That's very interesting.
Awesome.
A lot of complexity.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Sorry.
But it's
Also very nice the presentation and also the engineering challenges that you face. I was wondering, and I'm sorry if it is a naive question, but what's your main customers? Are data analysts or non-data people like financial departments that use?
Yeah.
Microsoft?
Yeah.
And I was also wondering, what's your main competitor right now? So imagine, for example, if you are targeting data analysts or so that use, for example, other platforms like, not sure, OKML or something like that. How exactly are you positioning right now?
Right now, so first one, who is our market? The short answer is everyone. That's the ideal, but reality is more business people, business related people. So people who have Looker dashboards, people who a good example is someone who manages a bunch of websites for people and has to present their SEO statistics on there all the time. There's a good use case on ours where they can integrate with that, pull their data right into the spreadsheet, and present it to their clients in a neat dashboard. And then the second question, who is our competitors? The easy ones, Google Sheets, Excel, Looker, Power BI, I guess, in terms of dashboards and pulling in the data. But outside of that, you could say the Airtables and them, but I would say they have a different niche in terms of user base. Does that answer all your questions? Okay.
So you say that you guys are using like monorepo.
Yeah.
I'm curious about how you guys are using. Like, are you guys using something that's off the shelf, like Turbo Repo or something? Or you guys develop something else?
No, Turbo Repo, off the shelf. Yeah.
What the advantages the engineering team at Rose think on monorepo compared with the common flow? Because I see that the monorepo subject is something I think controversial in the front-end world. Not front-end.
No, but we already had discussions in our
Yeah,
meetup,
it's
so
an endless discussion, I guess. So what the advantages you guys?
So the worst one is long pipelines. Like, so your CI runs for a long time, code checks, linting, it's unavoidable. That's probably the biggest pain. Obviously the easiest one is you can see a change across all packages as opposed to distributed. And a rollback, again, is a rollback on the entire package, where before, I think rollbacking relatively was easier because you would just change the version to the stable. But that's a matter of perspective on what is easier and for who. Is there anything you have on that, on monorepos versus?
I guess Turbo Repo helps about the building pipeline stuff.
Yeah.
It optimizes that a bit. Like, we can run just what changed. We have a bunch of optimizations there to just, run the linting or unit test or something, just what changed.
Yeah.
You don't need to run the whole suite.
Yeah.
But I think, at least for us, it's much better now than what we had before, of having multiple repositories and having to manage all that.
Yeah.
It was really painful.
Yeah, it was.
Do you have a monorepo for everything or like only for front end?
Only for front end.
Yeah, backend guys don't know what they do.
Yeah, they're too cool for us.
I have a question. I have a technical one about the canvas. You mentioned that you're using canvas to render everything. I'm just wondering, when user scrolls, does it mean that you need to repaint everything on the screen with every?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever measured the FPS?
He's got
We
the.
have a tool that every time you change the canvas or the files, it runs performance tests and takes the measure of time just to understand if a commit on our design system or in different parts have an impact in the performance. Yeah,
And this was made here in-house.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's actually, like, I think it's pretty fast, at least on the test that we did. We managed to maintain like a nice level of FPS. It's usually working. You don't really notice any like shudder, or even now that you were scrolling, of course, like your computer is okay.
Yeah. Oh, what? No, this is basic.
I think Canva can optimize like just what changed. Like it managed to just issue small changes, and we use like translation and all that, so we're not always repainting the whole thing.
I believe in your case it's not really small, it's a shift.
Yeah, most of the things is just a shift, so it's okay. But yeah, if you do like a quick scroll, you can do a lot of work there. But since the canvas is never too big, we never actually create like a canvas the full size of the table. Of course, we virtualize like I was saying.
Yeah.
It's not like a huge surface to repaint.
It's a fun fact that GDocs is using canvas as well ever since
Yeah,
painting on the screen.
They changed a in Sheets they were using Canvas like before for a long, long time.
Did they change?
No, they're still using
Okay.
Canvas there too.
Okay.
Initially, like Excel, the web version was using DOM, and they changed to Canvas as well. So because we kept an eye on the competition.
I believe that Microsoft Word Online is still in HTML.
Or maybe.
Have you ever struggling a lot? We are working with integration on top of this site, so
Okay.
Also keeping an eye on Word.
Good. And also like Canva has off-screen canvas, so as a way to draw stuff like on a different thread and then just do quick replace, so it works pretty well.
Any more?
Sorry.
Go for it.
But have you guys faced some issue within the product caused only by any React internal or any React feature like use effect or whatever?
Bruno's gonna have nightmares with the use effect. I think we have a bunch of custom hooks because we don't want to use effect anymore. I think that's the most he swears at me when I use too many hooks. But so I'd say yes. I can't remember explicitly what type of problems we had other than causing unnecessary side effects with the hooks. Nothing? No.
It's mostly unnecessary side effects or not unnecessary re-renders. We try to keep an eye on that. Like we have performance testing to catch any regression, but still we need to keep an eye on any component that's like re-rendering too much. But
Yeah, the big one that we are moving towards is a lot of our server requests now are no longer inside side effects. I think we just make the calls now as opposed to before. I remember we would wrap it around some sort of use effect. I think we're slowly just making the call when it needs to happen as opposed to wrapping it with a side effect. And then also not blocking the UI or waiting for it, waiting for the response if it's not necessary. I think that's the most, yeah.
That's it.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
So yeah, best thing,
Yeah.
like as always, right? Thank you for
Mike?
coming.
Keep
We're looking always for speakers, places to have us, and I think that's it. I think.
You want to say something?
No, thanks guys. Let's enjoy the pizzas and beverages.
Thanks for coming.
And that's it. Yeah.